better be good, because America's most maternal podcast is watching. I'm Matisse Van Rossum, and I'm absolutely gone off that loud-ass milk. I get entirely destroyed off a half a hit of that moo-moo shit.
I'm the hoop god, Ben Sheets. Ballless life.
Well, if it isn't the invisible cunt, it's me, Cleveland Mosier. Cleveland Butcher Mosier. You see, it's a play on the name.
Cleveland, Butcher, Baker, Nightmare, Gayer.
Nightmare.
Nightmare. Well, the boys are back in town. We're doing another Patreon pick episode. This week, the film we're talking about was chosen by our honorary podboy Mitchell, and I happen to know that the week that this episode is coming out is the same week of Mitchell's birthday. So this is also a happy birthday Mitchell episode.
Happy birthday, Mitchell.
Happy birthday.
Hell yeah.
Happy birthday. So in honor of Mitchell's birthday, we are talking about a film he has chosen for us, Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker, from 1981, directed by William Asher, and I believe another first-time viewing for all of us. I had not even heard of this movie, which kind of surprised, because I liked it. Kind of feel like this should be maybe more, and maybe it is more of a well-known film, but like, I don't know, I feel like we're all pretty well versed in the horror canon, and yeah, this was not one I was familiar with at all.
I'm shocked that it's not as talked about as it is. I had heard of it before. I know it is one of the films that was on the UK Video Nasties list.
Okay. Interesting.
And so it has some like relative infamy for that. But it's purely conjecture, but like I can kind of see why it might have been like written off at the time versus like an appreciation for it now. But I certainly appreciate the hell out of it now. Like I loved it.
Yeah, well, I think I was talking with Mitchell, and I think he was saying that he saw this one as part of like an all-night like movie marathon at like a local theater he went to or something, and was not familiar with this either. And after seeing it, added it to the Patreon picks list. So, I mean, it obviously has some level of cult status. But I was curious about the director William Asher, because I had not heard of him before. And I mean, looking at his filmography, I can see why. Like, he hasn't done like a ton of note, at least in like feature-length cinema, but he got his start directing in the late 40s, and looks like he did a lot of television in the 50s. He directed over 100 episodes of I Love Lucy. So, yeah. And pretty funny too, considering our last Patreon pick, which was Psycho Beach Party, which was chosen for us by Mitchell's brother Micah. And William Asher, it looks like in the 60s, the majority of his output was like beach party budget films, like the type of movies that Psycho Beach Party was satirizing. Those were the movies that he was making all throughout the 60s.
From what I understand, he was a big Roger Corman guy. Worked a lot with Roger Corman on those low-budget, cheapo sort of surf movies and stuff.
This does not surprise me at all.
One interesting thing, though, is William Asher wasn't actually the original director on this. He was brought in partway through production, because the original director was fired because he was taking too long. And, you know, cheapo Corman-esque production style demanded, you know, quick turnaround times on stuff. I think the original director was Michael Miller.
An interesting thing that I noticed, too, is not only was the original director replaced by William Asher, but the cinematographer was replaced as well. Who ended up shooting the rest of the film was Robbie Greenberg, but the original cinematographer of this was Dutch DP Jan de Bont, who worked a lot with Paul Verhoeven and later went on to direct Speed. Right, Ben? the Keanu Reeves movie. Yeah, so Jan de Bont was the original cinematographer for this movie, and then was replaced by Robbie Greenberg. So yeah, interesting. This definitely was not what I was expecting when I went into this movie. Like it is an early '80s slasher film, but definitely kind of an interesting premise, I guess.
I mean, what's so fascinating to me about it is I went in expecting like a straight slasher film of sorts.
Yeah, like a Friday the 13th.
Yeah, really, it's not that almost at all. It's almost more of a hagsploitation film. Creepy old lady. Yeah, I think that twist on things made it much more fresh, and paired with an incredible opening that kind of took me by surprise. I was locked in for almost all of this movie.
I think it's quality from pretty much every angle I can kind of shake it. I think that the script is top notch. I think the writing is a fantastic. I think the acting is really good. And most importantly, I think the pacing is spectacular. Like and also just in terms of I don't really like to break a film down in terms of moments. It sort of takes away like the idea of like kind of like threading themes and sequence. But here, like the film has a great sense of like how to continually like ratchet things up and to have new fun reveals, especially when it starts out so strong. Like I wouldn't say this movie is 0 to 60. I would say this movie is like 60 to 90. Like it starts out like already at like fucking full bore with that exceptional intro you were just mentioning, Ben, and like it maintains like a really steady clip. And while like there isn't so much like action or kills for like the bulk, like 2/3 of the movie, there's like one sequence past the beginning, but there is so much like wonderful tension, like, and our villainess is so insane that we just never know what she's gonna do next. So like I was always like really like on the edge of my seat, kind of waiting to see how things would go.
I think we should definitely just start with the opening of the film because it's the perfect setup for this movie. Like you said, it's not so much 0 to 60 as it is 60 to 90 off of a cliff.
Yeah.
So the movie starts. You get this little bit. A couple are getting into their car to go on a road trip to go visit, grandma or somebody, and they're leaving their young son, their toddler, behind with the woman's sister to watch while they're gone. And so the first scene is like them saying goodbye. The baby's crying for the parents as they leave. They get in the car, and then we cut, and they're going down this sort of like long curvy hill in the mountains, and their brakes give out. And so they start sort of careening down this long winding hill, like swerving out of the way to avoid other cars until they come up on a logging truck and just plow into the back of it. And a log goes, the Final Destination 2, log goes through the windshield and decapitates the husband who's driving. And then as the wife is struggling to regain control of the car, it goes careening off of a cliff, boom, 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 down the mountainside, lands in a little stream at the bottom. Then there's like a pause, and then it explodes. It's just
that pause is amazing.
It's a totally insane. Well, yeah, because it's like like you've just been on like such an insane ride from like the fucking log going through the car and just like pulping the dude's head, and then like the long tumble that the car takes down the mountain. So that little
already
pause,
looks so good, like
that little breath while the car is just kind of like sitting there smoking, and then it just explodes.
Because like during that pause, like I was like relishing what had just happened. Like I was so excited, and having such a great, like, oh, that tumble looked so good, that attack looks so good, and then it just explodes, and like, yeah, like it's still going. Like, yeah, it's so well timed.
Yeah, usually you expect the car to explode on impact, right? So like the fact that it like settles there for a second, you think, oh, okay, it's not going to explode, but then it does, which is fun.
I think it's worth comparing to The Descent as well, which also has a similar sequence in it. I think this is better.
Oh yeah, sure.
Though I do like The Descent. I think that it's so violent when like that log like goes through the windshield and like the whole windshield is just filled with blood. Like it's
Yeah,
really good.
Because they've obviously got like a dummy in the driver's seat, so you see the log like hit its head, and the head just basically like bends over completely backwards as like the log goes through. So it's like I mean it's pretty fucking gnarly.
I like how they shoot that whole sequence when she's like struggling to get into the driver's seat with the carnage next to her, kind of that she's getting around. It's so raw, and it's shot in such kind of frenetic motion that it feels more real in a way than it would in something like Final Destination or Hostel.
It does make me wonder if Final Destination 2 was inspired by this movie, because like that like log truck set piece is like such a like I mean it's the inciting incident, right, of Final Destination 2, and they it's much bigger in that movie, but like it is still such like a specific image that like I feel like this has to be, because this was 1981, right? Like this is sort of right on the edge where you could get away with like where you're starting to be able to get away with that kind of like gore in a movie.
But not in the UK.
Not in the UK, which is funny because like I don't think the movie is like all that gory otherwise. Like the third act is definitely like exciting. Like you definitely get some kills and it pays off, but like was it really, I wonder if it was really just like the log truck thing at the beginning that would have put this on the video nasties list. I also wonder if it's outside of the gore, if it's some of the thematic content as well, which we'll surely be getting into, but I don't imagine that the film ratings boards in the UK during the era of the video nasties were super gay friendly, I imagine.
I think part of it too is just the name. Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker is such a compelling name to put on a video nasties list, honestly.
I feel for anyone working a marquee at that time, that's a lot of letters. And a lot of B's, and like you might run out of B's. Like I'm sure a lot of people were only able to put it up on one side of the marquee and be like, "Man, that's it. I'm out of B's. Like that's all I can do."
Butcher, Baker, and more.
It's only 2 B's, Cleve.
Yeah, 4 in total though. It's a lot of B's.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't know how many B's that most film marquees have.
Case by case. I guess. Maybe there's a marquee set. I don't know. When I was working, we had letters missing too, so it wasn't always like we had to kind of make do. Sometimes
it do be like that. So after this big opening, we jump forward in time 14 years later, and we see the young boy, the son of these 2 people who we saw die in the car accident. He's a teenager now. He's 17. He's been raised by his aunt for all of these years, and he's on the cusp of manhood. He's a senior in high school. He's on the basketball team. He's got a girlfriend, and he's getting ready to, he's starting to think about college, and he's such a good basketball player that he's got athletic like scholarship prospects. But his aunt is maybe less than enthusiastic about the prospect of him moving away and leaving her.
Oh, I also want to note from the very top of the film, like as the parents are driving away, we see the aunt come outside of the house and she's holding the baby. And the baby is like reaching out its arm at its parents and just screaming. And she doesn't mind at all. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna have such a great time. It's gonna be so great." The baby's just like, "No!" And I love that. Like, obviously, like it's just a baby. It's upset that its parents are going, but it almost feels like it knows that like
Yeah.
it's the last time that
Well,
we'll see them.
she kind of like smirks too, and the camera freeze frames on that, like the
Oh, that's
baby
right.
like reaching out screaming like for his parents, and her kind of like smiling deviously, so it doesn't come as a real surprise later in the movie when it's revealed that she cut the brakes on their car, and
Yeah.
was sort of responsible for the death of the baby's parents.
And again, this movie doesn't give us any time to sympathize with this character. She is like formally introduced after the intro, coming into his room while he's still sleeping, going through his wallet, finding a condom, being very upset about that, and then waking him up by mewing in his ear like a cat and scratching him on the back. Wretched.
Yeah.
Like just right off the bat,
Yeah.
gross. Like really nasty lady. Yeah.
You're under no illusions from the start of the film that she wants to fuck her nephew, son.
Mm-hmm. It is
Yeah, very
gross.
uncomfortable incest vibes.
Yeah,
in
there's
this.
like so much entendre around it. Like, and what I found to be like so uncomfortable about it is that I firmly believe that the nephew wasn't aware. Like that Jimmy has like, is it Jimmy? What's his name again? Do we have the IMDb up?
Billy,
Sorry.
Billy,
Right.
Billy.
That like Billy
It's the
has
same.
like
It's the same name that every slasher movie uses for its protagonist.
That's true.
They're all
That's
named
true.
Billy.
Worked on a few. So Billy, like I believe that he like has no idea that that's going on, and like one of the things I liked about his character is that he came across as like pretty earnestly sincere and like just kind of like country dumb enough that like he wouldn't realize like the spider's web that he's tangled in.
He's a bit of a himbo.
Yeah, exactly. Which just to me like makes his character like even more charming and fun. And you were I was like pretty worried for him the whole movie because like Jesus Christ, I mean that's a terrible situation to be in. And with the aunt,
Yeah, sure.
like there is enough like justification in her craziness that like while it is cartoonish and like crazy, especially like as she continues to get somehow worse, the way that she like switches back and forth constantly, almost like Smeagol when he's like talking to himself, or like Norman Osborn with the Green Goblin mask. There's like just enough like anxiety in her voice that you believe her sympathetically. Like I don't sympathize with her, but I do like I buy that like she has these feelings. As insane and crazy as they are. I also love too like how she's able to like contort her face and like change on the drop of a hat without like any makeup or anything. Like she'd look like a fairly like normal person, and like a friendly aunt character and like someone who's kind of warm, and then just suddenly like her face would just twist up and look like an utter ghoul. Like it's so cool. Like she really like incredible monster film with no makeup. Like she was amazing at it. I think it helps too that she has like those high cheeks that make it look like she had like Botox when I think this is like pre-Botox.
Yeah.
So like she just has one of those faces where it looks like she's had work done, but she hasn't.
She's got that sort of like faded Hollywood starlet kind of look to her.
Yeah, I got some Baby Jane vibes,
Yeah, well, what this character really reminded me of, the actress is Susan Tyrrell. She's very good in this movie. What it really reminded me of was like Pamela Voorhees meets Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard. Gloria Swanson definitely has that kind of. I mean that the fear of abandonment, the desire to be loved, the desire to be relevant, to be important, and to not be left alone, and like the fear of loss and stuff, like gave me a lot of those sort of this is kind of like I don't know, like redneck Sunset Boulevard kind of
a little bit of Misery
because, like,
too. That Kathy Bates.
Yeah, a little bit of
Yeah.
Misery too, but yeah, like I think that Billy and his aunt, what is Susan Tyrrell's name? What's the character's name? Cheryl. Billy and his aunt Cheryl do have like a kind of Joe Gillis, Norma Desmond kind of relationship. A little bit,
it's
although, yeah, I mean, Billy is much more, he's much more naive and innocent, I guess.
it's kind of a reverse Psycho.
What I love about it in this film, though, is in a simpler film, they would have just stuck to that, right? Like, stuck to the relationship between the two. But I think the Cheryl character gets a lot more texture in relation to the sheriff character, who is honestly probably more despicable than her somehow.
Yes, I agree. The real villain of the film, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, it's neat because they still operate as like really good foils of each other because he is like the epitome of like traditional masculinity and is this just like cool sheriff who always knows just what to say. There are just several like one-liners he gets in that movie to like that like put people down and just shut down conversations. He's like the ideal of like a manosphere alpha male dude. I really like how he's written. Like he is just absolute scum, but like
Yeah,
just
I mean,
still
it's sort of
incredibly
sort of a
charismatic.
classic like hillbilly detective kind of guy, I guess.
But he's so like homophobic that he just can't like see the reality that's in front of
Well,
him. And it's
yes,
like
that's
so sick.
that's the thing. It's like, yes, so though Susan Tyrrell is kind of, the slasher villain of this piece, even so, like what she does is driven by like mental illness, like plain and simple, whereas like the detective, the police lieutenant is he's a villain, but his villainy is driven by bigotry. Like it's not mental illness, like he's just a bigot. And so he's like way easier to hate than Susan Tyrrell is. Even though she does some really horrible things, there is still kind of like a pitiable quality to her, you know?
Well, like, just like his bigotry does like by the end of it almost operate as a mental illness. Like at the end of the day, they're sort of like leveled to be like
Oh,
equally like
sure.
life
Yeah,
destroying
like
and
a true schizophrenic, he's creating his own rabbit holes to fall down, right? Like
yeah.
he's inventing the whole case in front of him instead of actually investigating.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so let's get into that some, because I think this is where like the meat of the discussion of this film lies
Yeah.
for me. This is where it
Sure.
sort of transcends just being like an early 80s slasher, because like this is something that I was really not expecting. So sort of the inciting incident in the present day when the film takes place or whatever is Susan Tyrrell's character. She's very lonely. She's upset that Billy's going to go off to college with his girlfriend and play basketball, whatever. And she has the like local like TV repairman over to repair the TV. And as he's trying to leave, she sort of like tries to force herself on him. And he does not respond well. He rejects her advances. And so, sort of in her rage, her frustration, or whatever, she takes a knife and stabs him to death right as Billy is coming home from basketball practice. And the way that Billy sees it, he sees this guy kind of like hunched over his aunt, and she's got the knife. So she plays it off like the dude was trying to rape her, even though really it's the other way around. She's trying to rape him. And so, of course, the cops get called, and they start investigating. So that's our introduction to this lieutenant character, the detective. What is that character's name? Joe Carlson, played by Bo Svensson. And rather than following the lead that something doesn't seem right with this woman, he thinks that Billy killed the TV repair guy because he was in a homosexual love triangle with the TV repair guy and his basketball coach. And he will not be dissuaded from this theory that he has. He is like convinced wholeheartedly that this is what happened. And so most of the movie, his entire investigation is him like trying to find evidence that Billy killed this guy because he was sleeping with his coach's boyfriend or whatever. It's entirely driven by homophobia.
And it takes like Billy's already terrible like situation of, you know, his guardian like being so evil and manipulative around him, and providing us with like his only like safety net like outside of that being the law is equally like corrupt and evil and out for him. Is great. Like he's just like in like this complete prison. And yet he's still like so free and out and about. So it leaves like his basketball coach as like the one like kind of like male figure he can rely on. And I think that's super cool, man, that this film like has the gall in like 1981 to like portray like the male like basketball coach of a high school as a gay person who isn't a pedophile. Like gold star, dude.
Yeah.
Like, also like a positive masculine male role model for Billy. Like those are all like fucking nailing it. Dude.
Yeah, I think that's what's really interesting and ultimately kind of progressive about this film for when it was made, because like in this kind of exploitation in this kind of exploitation slasher film, like the demonization of homosexuality is like certainly not new, right? Like the presentation
overdone even.
The presentation of it as deviant behavior or whatever, right? Like that is something that you see a lot in these kind of like low budget schlocky exploitation movies. But I can't remember another film made this early that has that as kind of like a driving plot point, but presents the actual like gay characters in the film as like unambiguously the most, for lack of a better term, noble and good-hearted characters in the film.
100%.
And I think that, you know, it counterbalances that with just how virulent the detectives like homophobia is. He uses the F slur liberally in this film, to a kind of jarring extent in like one scene in particular where it's just like almost every other word out of his mouth. But at the same time, it's like outside of that, like I think the film is otherwise like sort of unambiguously positive, like gay representation.
The most striking part of it to me is it's homosexuality that doesn't draw attention to itself. Like I think, you know, we were talking about like films of this time using negative representations, which, you know, like calling them perverts or pedophiles or whatnot. But even ones that are, you know, fairly innocuous would give, you know, gay characters like very upbeat sort of roles. Like the guy in this isn't playing the drama teacher, right? He's not playing, you know, the humanities professor. He's playing the gym coach. He's playing the TV repairman, right? Like those are very blue collar, not effeminate roles, which I think is especially important.
It displays a realistic worldview, right, and like a decent understanding, and just basically someone who's been outside of their house and spoken to enough people to recognize that, like, you know, like people come in all sorts of archetypical forms. And what I like even more is that's equally displayed in the script, highlighting one very specific short scene where the sheriff later interrogates Billy again while he's practicing basketball in his backyard. The sheriff, like, just to get some more nudges in, like, he's giving him like fake basketball advice because, oh, he used to play basketball too, and like, you know, it's a little bit better if you throw with a limp wrist, right? Like, and he's saying that, he's playing into that stereotype where it's like, hey, if you're one of them queers, shouldn't you be like more effeminate You know, what's going on there? Like he himself is like has that shitty mentality. So of course, like it's amazing that like it's no doubt that the writers would like understand that no, they're just blue collar people. You know, like no one's any fucking different.
I think the thing too is that like the detective character is portrayed like pretty unambiguously as like a scumbag kind of character. Like the film doesn't dance around that at all. And the thing about it too is that he is like quite literally the only one who is fixated on this theory. Nobody else in the movie is like,
not even the other detectives.
Like yeah, even the other detectives are like, man, I don't know, like what, doesn't it seem like a little bit more suspicious that like, the aunt was like, she doesn't have like a husband or anything, and like she invited this guy over, like doesn't it seem like a little bit more likely that like she killed him, but they're like, he's just like, no, it's these fucking fags. And like the girlfriend doesn't give that theory any time of day, like Billy doesn't, like it's totally this like singular obsession of this sort of lunatic cop character who is just making things worse and like making it easier for Aunt Cheryl to like sort of spin her web to trap Billy.
His bigotry like turns him into like the craziest zealot.
Yeah, it
Sorry,
totally does. It totally
go ahead.
does. Well, and it's like, this is jumping ahead to the end. I mean, I think it's not surprising. It wouldn't be surprising to anybody that like the detective ends up being killed or whatever. But like even at the end there, where like the detective is like, he's gone so lunatic like in his crusade against the gays, that he is like, even when all evidence is pointing towards Susan Tyler, he's still like pointing his gun at Billy, and Billy ends up getting the gun and he shoots the detective. And when the other cop comes back into the room, he doesn't look surprised or like upset at all. He's just kind of like, he's like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Like that.
Damn.
It's like,
well,
even the other cop is like, ah, yeah, that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
that my lunatic lieutenant would be fucking shot down. Like he doesn't seem upset by it.
Because like his arc is so carefully like ramped up. I think the clearest like midpoint of his arc comes a little bit before, where he interrogates. Is it Susie? Is that the girl's name? It's the
Julie.
the girl.
Julia.
Yeah, let's say let's assume. So
Julia.
when he catches
Or
Julia,
no, sorry.
like,
The actress's name is Julia. The character's name is Julie. So confusing.
Okay. Julie, the character, on the street, his searching and his bigotry has like brought him to the point where he's like, he feels like it actually helps his case to be like asking these teens if they're having sex, right? Disgusting behavior. Like that is so gross for him to just be like, him to approach them and be like, hey, this is important to the case. Are you and Billy having sex? And she's just like, that's not your fucking business. And I love how she shuts him down. It makes her like again, like as a foil, like look like so much more of like a positive and like figure, to just be like, bitch, that is not your business. Like at all. Like, why are you asking teens that? That's sick.
But at the same time, if she refuses to answer the question, it reaffirms his suspicion that they're not having sex, and therefore Billy must be gay. Because he thinks that, oh, if they were having sex, she would just tell me about it. The fact that she's not saying it tells me everything that I need to know. So of course, like my theory about this gay love triangle leading to murder is all the more reaffirmed.
Yeah, it adds such a cool like layer to that. I really like that.
Yeah, that character sucks so bad, dude.
Yeah, he does, but I buy it, man. And like and again, like I really, especially like in the South, I really just don't feel like all that much has changed. And I still like buy this character. Like he's amplified. He's a cartoon of like a real person, but he is a cartoon of a real person. A little has changed
Oh
in this
yeah,
respect. I just, again, especially in the South.
people like this absolutely still exist. Like they haven't gone anywhere. It's true, but I do think it's for the type of movie that this is and the time that it was made, like this character being so unambiguously villainous and like the actual like gay characters being presented as what they are, just normal people, just normal folks. It is like, you don't see that kind of thing in an exploitation film, which is what this is otherwise, or as you said, Ben, like a hagsploitation film. Because again, we've been talking a lot about this detective character because he is the most despicable part of the movie, but like Susan Tyler is like the monster of this, right? Like she is the crazy Oedipal villain. And she's really great. Like she chews up the scenery. They sort of introduced her in the time jump as like to sort of make extra money, that she makes pickled vegetables and she sells them to like their neighbors and stuff.
Poorly.
Oh yeah, poorly.
Yeah. She's not good at it.
But I love that little bit of setup, because it's like as soon as you see that like she's pickling stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, there's gonna be some human body parts that get pickled. They're eventually sort of a Chekhov's pickle jar, if you will.
I love it too, because like she's interacting with her neighbor, and she gives her a jar of pickled tomatoes. Never heard of that. Like, maybe if you were to just say pickled tomatoes to me, I would envision maybe like pickled green tomatoes, because at least they're like crispy enough that they could pickle properly. But no, this is just like a red jar that she hands her. And that's the best part too, is like you can't see anything inside of it. Like, it might as well just be tomato sauce. She just gives her like pickled tomatoes. And then later on, the neighbor and her husband are like walking up to the house, and she was like, "Oh, and don't forget to say something nice about the pickles." But like, it'd be a lie; they were awful. And she's like, "Well, then don't say anything at all, Howard." Like, go into the house.
Yeah, that was so funny. She's like, oh yeah, maybe say something nice about the pickled tomatoes. He's like, no, but they were gross. She's like, well, if you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all. It's like, well, then why'd you tell me to say something in the first place?
And again, to get that like secondhand as gossip from two characters, hilarious. And it's been said before, but like one of the funniest like principles of comedy is someone who is terrible at their job, and making her like, she's been pickling to get by, and she's also terrible at it. Hilarious to me. Like, yeah, I can't get
also
over that.
It's like, I feel like pickling is one of those things that like it's hard to do badly. Right? Like it's relatively straightforward as long as you like seal the jars properly so they don't like get bacteria in them. You don't end up with botulism.
You got to get the right flavors in there. You got to the vinegar. I don't know, like and maybe the storage as well. Like I haven't tried pickling before, so maybe there's some unseen complications that I wouldn't know about.
I've made homemade pickles. It's literally just throw a bunch of shit in a mason jar, seal it up, and put it in your refrigerator or pantry for a long time. Like that's. Well, I
didn't know we had an expert pickler.
You really
I'm so sorry.
I'm not an expert, but I have made some homemade pickles before. Like it
sounds like you know enough that in court you could testify for it.
As a bad pickler, you would worry that she would just give people botulism, and that would be the end of her her career, right?
Hopefully herself included.
Yeah, that would be funny if she was just giving people like bad jars of pickled vegetables that just get them sick and they die. Fun little cameo. Well, not really a cameo, just a very an early role of a beloved podcast favorite actor, Bill Paxton.
Yes. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, so young in one of his earliest roles that in the credits he is credited as William Paxton.
William Paxton. Yeah, he plays one of the guys on Billy's basketball team, sort of like his rival character who is like jealous because Billy's so good at basketball, so he kind of bullies him, you know. Sort of, you know, another sort of bigoted character that kind of plays along with the gay conspiracy. Although that character is like I mean, he's in like 2 scenes, right? Like he's barely around at all. But yeah, I think it was something like Bill Paxton's like third role or something like that. Like a very early film for him. I almost didn't recognize him, but the way he talks, the way he delivers lines. It's like there is like it's just undeniable. I'm like wait a second, is that Bill Paxton? Yep, sure is.
Yeah,
I saw somewhere that apparently Bill Paxton was supposed to play the Billy role, but they instead
no way.
had him do the minor role. And I mean, the guy who
Oh.
plays Billy in this now is fine, but can you imagine Bill
fine,
Paxton
but-
in that role?
Bill Paxton, I think, would have been a worse cast for that role because let me explain. Because he isn't. Bill is too shrewd. Like he comes across as someone who is very in control and aware. Like all of his characters are always like they always have that shit locked in. Like Bill's always locked in. And I think that doesn't work for Billy because Billy is sort of doughy-eyed and
I disagree. Think about Bill Paxton in Aliens, for instance. The kind of like overly macho, but like ultimately sort of like cowardly and like not in control Marine character, you know? That kind of energy I think would be great for Billy here. I mean, I appreciate him and his little role as the bully. Like, I'm just happy to see him. But now knowing that he was initially going to play that lead role is like the movie that we could have had.
Yeah.
I think
I will say, you know, in most cases with such a big performance as Cheryl, you know, Susan Tyrell, you'd want a more straight man character in the Billy role, which I think the current guy provides. However, for this movie, where it's so high octane and so over the top, I think get away with a Bill Paxton and a Susan Tyrell together.
I'm just imagining Bill Paxton and Susan Tyrell playing off of each other in this movie, and oh man, it sounds exquisite. That's all I want now. God damn it. God damn it. That's all I want. I was happy to see Bill Paxton show up here, but now knowing what I could have had, I'm a little bit frustrated.
What could have been? Well, let's talk about what was. So we've praised this movie a bunch. I don't think I have any. Do you all have any gripes about the film? Anything that you think could have been adjusted or maybe like came up at the wrong time or something?
Well, this is jumping to the very, very end, but my only minor gripe with this film, and it's barely a gripe because it's so fleeting, is at the very end they have a freeze frame and then a text crawl giving it a happy ending.
The wrap up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we can come back to that in that case. But,
Yeah.
Like, I totally get that. So, if you don't mind, I guess I can just kind of like summarize the essential beats of the film. Like,
Sure.
Billy is trying to get out of town. He wants to go off to college with Julie. And if he does well enough at basketball, he can get a scholarship. So, his aunt wants to keep him there at all costs, so she sabotages his game by drugging his milk beforehand, as she continues to do as we explore more Oedipal, horrible motherhood themes. Roughly around the same time, Billy is near accidentally uncovering the dark past of his family. The aunt has been restoring the attic for him as well to be a permanent room that he can stay in.
like an apartment for him.
Yeah, like an apartment for him. But when it is finally revealed to us, it's full of like babies' toys. So gross.
Yeah, she's
And
like, don't go up there until I'm done getting it all ready. And when he first sees it, it's after he's at like the basketball game where I guess there's like some college scouts or whatever. He's like,
yep.
This is an important game for him to get like his scholarship. So as you said, she drugs his milk, so he's like all woozy and he like runs into the wall and knocks himself out during the game. So then he wakes up in this bedroom in this apartment that she's made up for him in the attic. But yeah, she's filled the room with like all of his like children's toys, like young children's toys, like stuff that a 17-year-old absolutely would not have in his room, right? And so like that's him like waking up into that and being like, what happened to me? He's like, oh, you tripped and fell and knocked yourself out, but it's okay. Like now you're home and look at this. Look, don't you love it? Isn't it fantastic? Like the room I made for you, blah blah blah, all this shit.
It's so creepy. From there, it is Billy uncovers the locket and figures out that so before then, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before then, he goes through her little gold box, and he finds a letter illustrating that the boyfriend that she's always talked about with love and affection, that we also see her like praying to images of, like or previously in the film, that she didn't date him, his mother did. And I really like that scene.
Other way around.
No. To Billy's context. Like at the time, that's what Billy thinks. Like when he goes through the gold box, that's what I like about it. It's like he goes through the box and says, "Wait, you were always talking about dating this guy, but in this it says that my mother did." And she's like, "Oh, Billy," and like holds his head.
No. So he goes up in the attic early on, and he's digging through some stuff, and he finds a box, and that's when he falls down the stairs, and she like finds him, and she's like, "What are you doing going through this stuff?" And he has a picture, like, "Who's this guy?" And she's like, "Oh, that's one of your mother's old boyfriends." And it's then, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And it's then later.
That's the irony.
Later he goes into her bedroom and he's like going through her stuff and finds a letter from that guy, and he realizes that it wasn't his mother's boyfriend, it was hers.
It's her.
And she
says, "Oh," yeah. And then yeah. And then so from there, like we then find out that she was his mother. Or is his mother, actually. Right. And she was too young when she had him.
Mother
she gave him to to her sister, and like who actually died in that car crash was his aunt, and he went back to stay with his mother, but at that point it was already said. Which again, also pretty common in the South. That's a pretty known thing to do. Like like when people are too young, like the older siblings take the kid or whatever else. It's so it's
well, that happens wherever. This movie's not.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie is set in the South. It's set in like Colorado, I think. It's
but it's rural. It's
sure. But there's this aspect of like this guy that his aunt dated. Like he was an older man, and she was like a high school student, and then he like disappeared and was never seen again. And yeah, we see her a few times going down to the basement, and she has this sort of like shrine to him with like a photo and like some candles and stuff that she talks to. Again, very Pamela Voorhees, very Norman Bates kind of thing. And there's a we see this happen a couple of times, and there's one point later in the movie where she's talking to it, and then she turns and looks, and it does like a hard cut, and we see like a headless, sort of like desiccated corpse like lying there. And we realize that she's not just talking to like the spirit of this guy or whatever, but she killed him, and that she has his body. We see later that she has his head pickled in a jar.
When I talk about how great the pacing of the film is, like this is the shit I'm talking about. Is like, first off, Cool Psycho revealed that she's praying to the portrait of the guy. and then you have your first big reveal that like his severed head is next to her, and they wait a little bit longer to give you that final push that also next to the severed body is the head in a jar. Like, so they just do that beautiful like rule of threes with it. Like, it's this perfect setup. You think that they've already shown all the goods, and once again you get some more goods out of it. Beautiful, like good shit.
And you know, there's all kinds of questions. There's all kinds of questions throughout the movie. It's like, why doesn't she have a boyfriend? Has she ever been married? Is she widowed? Whatever. It's like, no, she doesn't have a boyfriend, and you know, it's because she has been fixated on this guy her whole life. You know, she killed him and is keeping his body in her house. So, and talks to him like they're still together. You know, she keeps talking about like finding ways to make sure that Billy will stay with them forever. You know, not just with her, but with them. So yeah, when we find out later, he finds his birth certificate in her stuff and sees that his parents are, you know, who he thought was his aunt and this guy that he's like found these letters from and has found the photographs of and stuff. So her ultimate sort of plan is she has her boyfriend's corpse stored in the basement, and she's trying to keep their son at home with them forever, but she also wants to fuck him too. She's sort of like projecting like the identity of
on Billy.
her old lover onto their son.
Vile. I think, yeah, and like she has like all of those same like puritanical like psycho aspects too, where she's just incredibly repressed. I think the most vile, what I found to be like the most vile line in the movie is when Billy, it's in that same scene where Billy is woken up from his milk dreams after getting knocked out at basketball. And he's saying, he says, "Oh, I should be back at school." And she says, "No, they're all perverts. You need to stay here with me. I can teach you things." And it's like, whoa, like fucking disgusting. Like, get out of here. And I love that. Like she goes through like so many different like tones throughout that sequence too, where like she's like predatory, and then like there's more of the reveals about the mother stuff later on when she comes back, and she's giving that whole speech about like how I'm actually your mother, and she's doing the big monologue, and then we hear the phone ring in the background, and she's all like upset and like really sad about everything, and she just like on the drop of a dime just goes, "Oh, the telephone," and like goes out, and she's all like happy again, and like those like sudden mood shifts are like great, like they're really unsettling. And like when she's downstairs with the neighbor around that same time, and the neighbor is like slowly figuring out that something is wrong, so she's sticking around a little bit longer than intended. And yeah, and like she comes back down and the neighbor is still there, and like she's really inquisitive, but then she's friendly again, and she walks out of the room. And then when she walks back in, like the light catches her, like just away. Which we haven't mentioned, the lighting is so fucking good in this movie. It's all like really good. Like all the interiors too are like really nice sets. Especially that house. So like they just get all these like really good like shadow work on the faces, which just allow her to like, depending on where she's standing in the room, look like a normal innocent person or a ghoul. And so like when she returns into the room, like all the shadows are playing against her face, and she's just got this like sneer, and it's excellent. While we're building into the scene, I think I had one last thing I wanted to touch on, and that is not too long after that, the neighbor is chased out of the house. She's outside and she's trying to get away at this point. And then she hears, to bookend from the beginning of the film, a cat mewing in the trees.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, spooky, because it's like that's what she does at the beginning, and like I like it is as simple as it is just do thing twice. Like it got me really good. Like I thought that was like so, and I think like it's all in the delivery. Like her performance of that is like so creepy when she does like the cat noises, and like the neighbor knows it's not a cat. Like she realizes like it's the aunt like in the trees, and I love that. And when the babysitter comes back around and she torments her as well, like there's just so many good shots of her like chasing after people in the woods and like, you know, swinging at them with a knife and kicking. And she's never like very physically agile. I think like the hagsploitation thing is a really good note, Ben, because like yeah, she like I think my favorite part of that like is when she kicks Julie into the river. Like it's a really silly. I rewound it 10 seconds to watch it again because like it's her coming up and like kicking her, like she almost falls over herself. Like it's very like bumbling, and I like that a lot because it's like her psychic hold that she has that makes her so scary. Not like necessarily her physical strength. She has to resort to other means, and I like that a lot.
She becomes like a Frankenstein's monster kind of figure for me. Like that whole like latter part of the movie in the third act where like yeah, she's like chasing the neighbor out around outside, and then she's chasing Julie, and it's like the wind is blowing and it's kind of like dark and stormy, and yeah, she like is fighting with Julie like in this pond, and they're like trying to drown each other, and it's like it's very primal, and she becomes yeah, like she becomes like a sort of like creature. Like it's like she's no longer human at a certain point. She's just this lumbering, shambling thing that is driven by rage and instinct alone. And like when you have like the flashing lightning and the wind blowing and everything, it's just like yeah, it's very evocative of like Frankenstein to me, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, exactly. Like sort of like yeah, peak sort of like gothic horror drama, which is not what I was initially expecting from this movie at all. I appreciate that sort of transformation of Susan Tyrrell into this like yeah again into like a creature over the course of especially the third act of this movie.
Yeah, and it totally just continually ratchets up the tension and the extremity of it in that third act sequence, right? Like, I think that's the most impressive thing about it to me is it just feels like it continually one-ups itself in that sequence, right?
Yeah.
Just when you think you've seen the worst of it with Cheryl on a rampage, somehow it gives you more.
Even with her death at the end, right? Billy like comes downstairs and he picks up the phone to try and call for help, and she comes in out of that upper left third and just shuts off the phone with her gnarled hand because she's been in the river. And like she puts the phone line around his neck, and like he finally gets a hold of a knife and stabs her, and we think that she's dead, and sure enough she pops up one final time, so he has to kill her with the a fire poker. And
Yeah, stabs
yeah,
her
like
through
this.
the heart with the fire poker.
Hmm. And I love that like we really think that we got her at that first time with the knife, because like it looks like he stabs her in the heart, but really it's just sort of downward to the breast. And so like it makes perfect sense that she does get back up again. And it to me it worked really well. Like you both get like
Yeah,
enough like believable like realism to perpetuate the scene, and also the drama of like she just won't die. It's just fun.
I was pretty impressed with how that was shot too, because I feel like in these
Yeah.
type of sort of like low budget movies, it's usually pretty like easy to see when they do like that kind of stab where at the last second the actor kind of like turns their wrist in such a way that like the blade is just like lying against the person that they're stabbing or whatever, but it's like the stab when he gets her with the knife, like it looks very convincing. Like it looks
Yeah.
like he actually kind of stabs. I know he doesn't, but I was kind of impressed by that.
Yeah. And
I
also
was
like
like, oh shit.
equally icky that right after he stabs her, like her or what looks like her death knell, like her final like moment is just like a full on kiss on the mouth. Like,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
she's the moment earlier where she does kiss him, and she has like "I'm your girlfriend now" or whatever, right? Like,
Nasty.
oh yeah, really good shit, man. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean at that point, like you said, she's been rolling around in the pond and stuff. She's all like wet and she's like covered in dirt, and her hair's all fucking crazy. And she just yeah, she didn't even look human anymore. She looks like fucking Gollum. You
Hmm.
know, she goes fucking full Smeagol mode. which I really liked.
Yeah.
After that, enter our the gym coach who was called earlier. He finally shows up. I like that he doesn't just show up as a Deus Ex Machina. Also, like we get like him calling for him, like, hey, you're my last hope. I really need your help out here, like because he can't trust anyone else. Was really cool.
They have that believable relationship between like a coach who, like genuinely cares about the success and well-being of like one of his star pupils, right? And so like it's and like that relationship in general is sort of what one of the things that drives the homophobic fervor of the detective, right? Is that they have an unnatural relationship when it's obviously just like, a very standard sort of like mentor, a coach and player relationship, but he has to pervert it into something, deviant, something nasty, something unnatural as he sees it. Now that I've been describing this, for some reason, all I can imagine is that bit from the Biden debate where he was like, "Coach, I'm gay." Y'all remember that? He's talking about somebody like having the courage to come out to their coach, I'm gay.
Coach, I'm gay. Like,
but in this case, the coach is the gay one.
To sort of like further highlight like how well this has aged, to me, the detective's bigotry like reminds me so much of that like right-wing shitty belief that like schools now, like, to protect from like the trans kids have to have like penis inspection days and shit, and it's like, bro, thing you are asking for is like so much more evil and pedophilic. Like, what do you mean? Like, and it's like, like through their bigotry and like through their fear of like this sort of stuff, they become the very thing that like they seem to be afraid of. Like it to me, it's like it's so similar in that respect. Like, just really nasty bastards out there.
The people who never shut up about protecting our kids are the only ones who are demanding to inspect kids' genitals.
Yep. It's like,
yeah,
make me wonder a little bit. Like, all right, man. Yeah.
I mean, like let's be clear. Like, if there was something going on between the basketball coach and Billy here, like if there was something romantic going on, like that would be a problem. Not because of the same sex, not because of the same sex aspect of it, but because Billy is 17. Yeah, so like no bones about that. But there's that moment that like it's a more understated moment, but it was one of the sort of most like vile line readings for me. Is like one of the times when the basketball coach like goes into the detective's office to like answer his questions or whatever, and the detective is kind of like baiting him and just being generally homophobic, and the coach is like, dude, what's your problem? And the detective just kind of pauses and just like very seriously and softly is like, people like you. It's like that, and like that's the way that he says it. It's just like there's like such a like quiet, disgusting menace to that is just like so earnest and so sincere that like that feels like it's really sort of like the root of who this character is, that really his entire driving motivation is his hatred of gay people. That like when he's asked, what is your problem, it's like, it's you fucking faggots, like that's my problem. And it's like, so when Billy just like gets a hold of his fucking 357 Magnum at the end and just unloads into this motherfucker, it is so
gratifying.
It's so much more cathartic than like seeing Cheryl die or any of that stuff. It's just like Billy just fucking unloading 6 fucking Magnum rounds into this piece of shit motherfucker who has just been charging through this whole movie on a fucking anti-gay crusade. And again, like when the other cop comes back into the room at the end, he just kind of like, I think his reaction to seeing the lieutenant dead on the floor is, I think he just nods. Like
Damn.
yep. He's like, yep, sounds about right. Everybody hated this motherfucker. Which is
And
why
then-
it is funny there that the freeze frame, like you were talking about the end with the little title scroll, it's like Billy was prosecuted for the murder of Detective Carlson or whatever, but was let go on grounds of temporary insanity. So it's like,
Yeah,
all right,
see, I'm
sweet.
of
So
two
he like
minds
got
of
away
that
with it.
because like it ties up everything so cleanly, but on the other hand, it's kind of an extension of that same thing you were talking about because I think everyone understands, like, oh yeah, he had it coming to him, right?
It's almost
Like,
Right, he totally.
yeah.
But at the same time, it almost sort of feels like, you know, the temporary insanity thing is sort of like how they let him get away with it, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like everybody knows that this motherfucker was a piece of shit and nobody liked him, but yeah, Billy did technically murder a cop, so he's got to go to trial over it. But temporary insanity, right? I like that. It would have been. I feel like it's sort of emblematic of movies of the time, that sort of freeze frame little like title crawl wrap up. Like you see it a lot.
Yeah.
But it would have been much more frustrating if it was just like Billy was sentenced to 80 years in prison for the murder of Detective Queer Smasher, you know, like.
Which might have been more believable or realistic, but definitely not what I wanted.
No.
But no,
Yeah.
I don't disagree though with like the gripe that like it's so like sudden and clean and like we don't get to see it, like we don't get to see like him happy at college or whatever. We just have it like written out for us, and that's all we got. That's all the time we have, folks. But
Right.
I do and I kind of agree.
We gotta wrap this shit up, you know, like that's what
Yeah.
it feels like.
Well, I mean, but also like the movie is like long enough that like at that point, in terms of runtime, I don't know if I wanted to sit around for another couple minutes.
It's impossible to see something like that and not think about like what is it, the movie that they talked about on Best of the Worst? Is it Get Even, where it's like it just ends with the dude like shooting the rocket at the guy and it blows up and then freeze frame and like title crawl and then credits. It's just like anytime I see something like that, that's all I think about, you know. Where it's just like sometimes you just know it's like we just gotta end the movie right here, and any loose threads that need to be tied up, be damned. We'll just do a little text crawl here before the credits roll. I don't know. There's a part of me. It's so jarring, and it never feels good. But there's a part of me that respects it for sort of how ballsy and disrespectful to the audience it feels.
Yeah.
Anything else from anybody?
I think that's all the points that I wanted to. Yeah, I think that's about it. We're ready to rate, guys.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I'll go first, I guess. Yeah, I liked this movie. This is definitely a little hidden gem for me. I think it absolutely deserves to be talked about in the same sphere as like Friday the 13th, for instance, which came out I think maybe the same year or right around the same time. But yeah, I think this is going to be a strong 4 out of 5 for me. I enjoyed this movie.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm going to ditto that. This is a strong 4 out of 5 for me as well. I had a blast watching it. I think this is super underrated. I saw that Severin recently put out a 4K of it.
Fuck yeah.
I'm sure that's awesome. I know this was out of print for a long time. You couldn't find a good print of it, on Blu-ray or DVD. So I'm glad that it's available again, and I would definitely recommend seeking it out.
It's on Tubi.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Tubi as well.
Tubi. So, lastly, I'm just gonna give it that little half bump, and give it a 4.5. This movie was great for me. I loved it, and I'm not gonna say it's better. I think that'd be unkind, but especially on like we're literally recording on Friday the 13th. To say that it's better than Friday the 13th, but I will say I prefer it over Friday the 13th. I really like this
especially
movie.
the first one. Yeah,
I think. Oh yeah, and like I think it hits a lot of the same themes, and I think it hits them better. this movie would have come out like 3-4 years after Friday the 13th, I want to say, like not too long, like not too far in its wake.
I want to say within a year or two. Friday the 13th came out in 1980. This came out in 1981. So
wow, yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if like with this movie was largely incepted like before, that was just like even known. So yeah, that gives me even more respect for it. I think that it does an amazing job of carrying out like multiple themes that we've all like heartily discussed. Well. And also just the kills are fucking great. It's fun. It's a fun movie too. So yeah, big, really, really high marks to Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker.
yes,
Of all movies, I really didn't think I'd like it this much.
that will give Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker an average of 4.2 out of 5 and a resounding recommendation. Yeah, seek it out. As I mentioned, it is on Tubi, and it's a pretty good transfer on Tubi as well. Like, it looks nice on my TV. It was crisp. So yeah, I think if you're a fan, especially of like early 80s slasher exploitation style movies, this is a lesser seen, lesser discussed one, and absolutely worth checking out. Like, I think more people should see this. I don't even think it's that hot of a take to say that this is better than the first Friday the 13th. I have a soft spot for the first Friday the 13th, but I think a lot of people are kind of like, it's not that great. So yeah, it is kind of. I mean, this did not receive 10 sequels like Friday the 13th did. But I think that of films of a similar era,
good.
like if you like those type of movies, yeah. If you like these type of movies, yeah, absolutely check this one out. It's well worth your time. Next week we're going back to the cinema for new movies. It's time for 28 Years Later, the long anticipated sequel to Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's 28 Days Later. I think discounting the 28 Weeks Later sequel. But the boys are back together and they're making another one and we're going to go see it. So will we like it? Is it worth the 23-year wait? Join us next week to find out.
Whether or not it's good, it's definitely going to make me feel old. I think that that's like the one certainty I've got going into this.
I mean, I think most things in some form or fashion make me feel old these days. So it's kind of par for the course. Anywho, until then, if you like the show and you want to support us, well, the quickest and easiest way to do that is to leave us a 5-star rating and a review wherever you're listening to this. But you can also go the extra mile and toss us a few bucks on Patreon, patreon.com/podpeoplepod. Our highest level tier, the honorary Podboy tier, $10 a month, lets you choose movies for us to talk about. Do a full episode on any movie that you want us to watch, like this one. And shout out to our honorary pod boys, of course. Those awesome dudes, Sam, Zach, Micah, and Mitchell. Special shout out to Mitchell this week for choosing this movie for us to talk about, and also because it's his dang birthday. Happy birthday, Mitchell! Damn
Birthday.
Thanks for picking a cool movie for us to talk about.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And so yeah, of course, last but not least, you can follow us on Letterboxd at Pod People Podcast, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show, with our average ratings and links to those reviews. For my recommendation this week, it's going to be a tenuous connection to this movie. Just another movie that I have seen this year that features Susan Tyrrell. Not in a huge role by any means, but she does have a bit part in Paul Verhoeven's first American production, Flesh and Blood, sort of medieval action drama film. She isn't that, like I said, it's a bit part. She's not a big role at all, but she is in it. And that movie was also shot by Jan de Bont, the original cinematographer of this film. But that movie was about that. I think Flesh and Blood is 1985. I want to say so. A few years after this. It's certainly not Verhoeven's strongest film. It was plagued by all sorts of production issues. It was a joint production between the United States, the Netherlands, and Spain. So it was multiple production studios sort of jockeying for control. So it's a little bit messy, but I mean, if you like Verhoeven, it's got his hallmark energy. It's got a great Rutger Hauer performance, a great early Jennifer Jason Leigh performance, and a little bit part from Susan Tyrrell. So figured I'd shout it out here.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm gonna stay on the Susan Tyrrell train. My recommendation is for a movie she did a couple years after this called Angel, 1984. It's about this high school girl who's top of her class by day, and by night she is a prostitute. A gross serial killer is hunting down prostitutes on the street that she works, and so it's a very sleazy sort of moonlighting sort of horror film. Very fun. You can tell it inspired like Maxine, for example. Yeah, it's really good. I think it's on one of the streamers, Plex or Canopy. Worth checking out. There's a Vinegar Syndrome release too. So,
Ooh, nice.
Mine is the flimsiest, I think, recommendation, but it does involve butchery. I'm going to recommend the demo for the game Half Sword. I've been playing that lately, and it has brought me to tears of laughter. It is essentially a combat simulator, with big quotes on that, specifically like medieval Renaissance era combat simulator, where you can play as like a peasant or a knight in full plate armor, and all the physics is very carefully simulated, but the combat itself is designated by like holding up weapons by clicking parts of the mouse and then swinging the mouse to attack. And there is just something very funny about like all of the UI being like traditional medieval like tapestries that are very like quaint and like starting for the matches, and then you walk up like goofily and then like swing your mouse and just like lop someone's face off, like, and then they just start screaming bloody murder and crying and weeping. It is like the polarity between those two things of like the goofy Renaissance shit and just like the ultra gore is too funny. It is great. Like I strongly recommend it. It's very fun because you can turn up the sliders too for like all those things. Frankly, I play it on neutral gore because like the excessive gore is like it's almost like not as funny as like just like when you just lop someone. It's great, but like you can turn up like the amount of damage that you do versus the enemy and the rest. And there's like an abyss mode where like it's basically a roguelike where you just start naked in the void and slowly pick up pieces as guys attack you, and it's all like I put way too much time into that shit. It's very fun. So yeah, highly recommend it.
sounds awesome.
That sounds amazing. What is that called?
Half Sword. And the demo's free.
Half Sword.
You can get it on Steam.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah. Very fun.
All right.
Good to play with friends. Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. And until next time, if you want your bones to be strong, be sure to drink plenty of milk.